Welcome, one and all, to another One Drop Sessions and Upsetta.com's Reasoning with Niko. I'm your host, Niko One Drop, and I have on the line with me, straight from Jamaica, the Grammy-nominated singer, Kumar Fyah. Welcome to the show, Kumar. It's a pleasure to have you on the line.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Today I give thanks.
Yeah, man. Well, this is I was just thinking back. We've kind of known each other a little bit, and this is our third time chatting, which is definitely a blessing on my end, and I'm definitely very appreciative of it. So we haven't talked for, I think it's been about 5 years, and there have been obviously a ton of changes with your career and what's been going on. How can you help the people understand what's been going on with you before we get into the brand new record, Culture Walk, later? I want to talk a little bit about the works you've been doing in your home parish of St. Elizabeth, and but how can you explain to the people your journey the last few years?
Yeah, well, my journey, has really been somewhat, exciting at times and also very trying at times. And then other times, it's a learning curve, you know. Leaving Raging Fire almost 2 years, going on 3. I have been doing a lot of recording and, soul searching and new music, just learning about the business a bit more for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we're going to get to the album in just a little bit, but obviously these last few months, we'll just touch on it now. You dropped the album Culture Walk, brand new thing, first solo record for you in May of this year. Talk a little bit about, what it was like to release a record during this global pandemic, and also you touch on how you and your family have been doing and all this, and how your community is.
Yeah, well, releasing a new album, Culture Walk, during these times as well, as Miguel said that in COVID, a lot of people, were saying, Kumar, why are you releasing it now? Why don't you wait until, I don't think there's ever a bad time to release great music.
Yeah.
I think if you believe in your songs, you can release it any given time once you think it's great. There's always an ear to give a listening. So with that being said, I kind of wrap my head around the album in the sense of from a community perspective where, I could do events in my community with the same name as the album, as well as, start little businesses around just to encourage people and show people in my community that, you can start and you can make something from nothing, really, because I walked away from Raging Fire for a lot of reasons, not something that I wanted to do, but upon leaving, I realized that I have a lot of work where, people want to work with Kumar or book Kumar, continuously. So that in itself was a challenge, but I think I, hold steadfast and push through, and, it's getting much better right now, and I still have that respect from the Raging Fire days. So I think it has helped me as well to, maneuver my way with releasing this new album and, having people interested,
Yeah, that's a huge blessing, and it must have felt like such a huge risk in some sort of way while you were making the decision to step away and to go out on your own. That like the what ifs and all of that.
Yeah, it was like I cried when I was leaving because I knew the work that I had put into Raging Fire and that we had put in as a team. Not to take anything from the guys. I know, I had really done a lot of work and I didn't want to have to walk away from it. But circumstances were far beyond any of our control to fix whatever needed to be fixed. So it was very difficult to move on. But then I realized that, I was once nobody. I used to make music before Raging Fire. So I think that doing it from my soul was what actually, allowed Raging Fire to get to the level. So I'm very grateful that I was a part of the band and able to see myself as well, from a very spiritual point of view, growing up with the guys and playing and touring. Now doing it on my own with my own album. Yeah, it's a lot more work, but it's also a lot more freedom and a lot more space to make mistakes and grow,
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the album. Why don't you talk a little bit about what your creative process was in there must have been some amount of time that went into writing the songs and like figuring out which musicians you wanted to work with. Where was the record recorded? I know that you produced it yourself. Were there any collaborations production wise? Talk a little bit about the whole creative process, if you could.
Well, some of these songs were recorded over a period of time. Like I can
Mm.
remember Trading Places being the first song on the album, and when I left Raging Fire, like within a week, I had that song Trading Places done up. So that was the first song that triggered my emotions toward recording a body of work. Then Remember Me, I had some of that music from time gone. So I kind of realized that I have songs. It's just a matter of working with the right producers. So I ended up in Italy working with Bono, who who gave me the vibes, you know, who
Mm.
gave me the vibes, who gave me the vibes to really push through and make some music like with anyone from Dead President,
Yeah.
like he made the connection and that happened very well, and so many things, were wonderful. Like for example, songs like Loyalty, my good in Sean P. Sean, he's the drummer in Raging Fire when I was there in the last part.
Yeah.
Patrick Anderson, Budweiser Productions. He wrote Loyalty and produced that track on the album. So it was I was a little bit more free to, express myself and work with other people in whatever capacity that I wanted, but lyrically, I'm usually just always writing. So the songs are usually there.
Yeah.
Production wise, it's just a matter of working with the right genius. Like for example, Robert Livingston and Lamar, or Notice Records with Unga and Welch, or Weekday, Giovanni Morrison from True Ambassador.
No.
And, all of these things, contribute towards the sound that I was going for this particular album. Lots of people say, oh, Kumar changed from roots rocking reggae to hip hop and to modern sound, but it's no change. It's really just expression of myself. So I have a roots album. I have roots music, but I think people need to understand that Kumar is versatile and he's able to create music, even for the 5-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something that definitely comes across in the album. Do you have a favorite tune off the record? I know that's a big question, but
Well, all of them I'm a baby still, but honestly, I love Dry Bones as a track that I can get intimate with and sit and perform and extend it and whatever on the piano. So Dry Bones is a special place with me. But if I should go favorite, for me, I really, 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 really enjoy singing Before I Be a Slave, I'd Be Buried in My Grave, Remember
oh,
Me. All the other songs are dope tracks that I would enjoy on stage, but just something that hits home with me every time, you know?
yeah, man. I mean, it's so funny that you should say that because that's exactly the line off the record that sticks in my head like the most. And talk about what does that line mean to you? Why'd you write that line? If you don't mind me
Well, I mean,
asking.
no, I don't mind. Like, it's more of not becoming a slave to anything that controls you. So people say, yo, slavery days done, cane field days. Yes, I agree. But then also you could become a slave to smoking, to drinking, to friends, to bad people. So I think, I realized that it might be very hard on some ears to say, oh, so you'd rather die than just whatever. And it's not a matter of dying physically, it's just a matter of not becoming a slave. Like, I want to live, and I would rather, death over, living not living. You know what I mean? So if I'm
Yeah.
alive and I'm on earth, it makes no sense to be, just alive and not experiencing the world or, the way that you would really want to experience it because you're a slave to whatever that controls you. So I think that hit home with me over a period of time and kind of the food we eat. So I speak of Dr. Sebi in the song, just the banking system as well as, referring to them as pigs because they're never filled. I have a piggy bank at my house when I was a child. And, every time it's like a bank, why a pig? Why keep banking the money in a pig? A pig, if you have pigs at your house, you could feed them whatever and they eat it. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of showing people that, you need to analyze a little bit more and don't become victims, to a system.
Yeah, it's a super powerful song, a powerful line, and one that definitely struck home. Let's step back for a second, if we could, and talk a little bit. One thing I don't think we ever talked about is your upbringing, like what your childhood was like, and talk a little bit about how it was for you as a kid growing up.
Yeah, well, I grew up in rural South St. Elizabeth, close to the ocean as well as up in the mountains. So I have the best of those worlds. And, farming family, went to Monroe College, my high school, tight knit community. And, as a youth, grew up in the church as well. That's where I started to play music. You know, leave from the church, leave high school, ended up in Kingston, and studying first mechanical engineering for a year. Then I quit to go to Edna Manley.
Yeah.
After Edna Manley, that's when my life really started in music with Raging Fire on a major level where we did an album and started a tour. And I'm only 31 years old, so I'm pretty young. Still, I have a lot more experience to experience. But, I think my upbringing from, being in a country where growing up on the farm and with parents who are teachers, educators, I grew up in that space where I love reading, so I'm always on the ball with knowledge and just trying to increase my knowledge so I can be a little bit more wiser with decisions.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
so I think, yeah, and even with my writing. So, yeah, man, that's really, in a nutshell, Kumar, from a country, to
Yeah.
town and back a country now. I'm back in the country living right now.
Hey, so when was the moment that you? I mean, you said you grew up in the church, so you started singing in the church. What was that? Was it really that moment in Edna Manley, or before you entered school there, or when was the moment where you were like, music is what I have to do? I have to, like, this voice I have inside me. I need to share with the people.
You know what? You see, people in St. Elizabeth right now and all over, are very happy for Kumar. That's the first thing we realize, like, the fact that I'm doing something, that I love. And this video, Remember Me, right? I
Yeah.
shot Remember Me in St. Elizabeth, in my hometown, you know, up by my old school. If you see the chapel in the video, that's at Monroe College,
Oh,
you
okay.
know. That's up by the school that I went to, and Lovers Leap right around the road from my house. And the people in the video are people from the community,
Wow,
you know,
that's great.
because I'm trying to highlight them. I'm trying to bring light to my area, to my little community, in whatever way I can. And releasing this album, it was a major step, Niko. I know you understand,
Yeah,
in
man.
terms of moving from point A to point B. And in between that, I remember recording for Upsetta, a song called Change, which really hit home with me as well, because you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people really, are facing each day before judgment get cast and before all of these things. So it has been tough, but I think everything I work out right now. It's
Yeah.
coming right back around.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. Listen, so yeah, let's talk about that tune change just a little bit. I wanted to ask you about a song that I find personally, again, to be very uplifting, and one that I go back to when I need that little extra bit of motivation, musically speaking, of course. What was there was there something that was happening in your life at the time that inspired the tune, or were you just trying to, like, help lift people up in a moment?
That both of them, because I was trying to help someone in the moment, and I was also helping myself,
Yeah.
reassuring myself,
Yep.
that life can change, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, it definitely can, and that's something, and it changes a lot
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, especially this year. I think a lot of people have been experiencing a lot of rapid change. So it's something that's so important for all of us to
Yeah.
remember. This can happen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk for a second about the events you were doing around Reggae Month in February around St. Elizabeth, trying to, these different concerts you were doing with live bands. You had Ken Booth play.
Mm-hmm.
You played, I believe. You even had Journey come and play,
Yes,
do a tune.
yes,
So,
yes. Because
trying to highlight artists from your parish. Tell us a little bit about
yeah.
that.
All right. Just before we go to Nico, Wiki Waki. If you think about Wiki Waki,
Yeah.
like that's me. That's Kumar's baby brainchild. Like, we started out Wiki Waki as Raging Fire, but it was a vision of mine from then to just always have an event, and instead of doing it once per month at Wiki Waki, I arranged to do like a 2-day festival. Like, I can remember Chronix being coming on that stage for one of the first time he's going live on stage as Jamar. Back in 2011, he came on
Wow.
that stage. One of Coffee's first main performance was on that stage, because I can remember before I left Raging Fire, Coffee and I were best friends. Like we're apart every day. I brought coffee to Raging Fire to so we could have coffee and produce her album and work on the songs. Like her first video was done at WikiWaki. So I'm saying all of these things were happening. So being there, I kind of realized that Kumar, you have a knack for finding artists and pushing them. And usually there's nothing in return for me, but it's a fun thing for me to realize potential and help pushing it. Journey, I met Journey like years ago. He's my neighbor in St. Elizabeth. Like I know Journey years on top of years, and he approached me in 2014 while I was a part of Raging Fire, asking Raging Fire to manage him and his band, Ayawak. So, when I left Raging Fire and he joined Raging Fire, that's when he was linking and saying, yo, I'm going to join. And no, he out of Raging Fire. And when I realized he was out, I was like, yo, it's going to be difficult for somebody to go into something and leave. So I was like, yo, come in, Journey. I'm doing something in the parish. Come in, Kenny Simmet. Come in, Shari. Uncle Ken Boot. Come give me a strength. I try something again with this culture walk and see if I can do it for the month of February instead of every month, like what I was doing with WikiWaki and Raging Fire. So now once a year for the month of February, I want to do a culture walk series where I feature young talent from across Jamaica, mainly my parish, St. Elizabeth. But it's just another event that you might see a star rise up out again. Kenny Simeta come forward and he's very good. Journey I come and release him own music and he's very good. So I think all of these things matter, and that's just my personality. And I would never want that to change. I really like, so if I drop a Timbuktu, I could keep an event.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's. I mean, that is something. It seems like that's special about your personality is that you really want to share in what's going on the stage with as many people as possible, which is a beautiful thing. And if it helps lift up young artists, I mean, that's what the name of the game is. I mean, it's not a competition, right? This is a mission for all of us that we're on, whether we're performers or,
Exactly.
or musicians or,
Exactly.
yeah.
So yeah. So for me, I never hold back, when it comes to that sort of thing. Like, when I think about it, I mean, I'm very happy for Coffee and Connix and everybody because I'm like, yo, they were right there beside Kumar. I know they're great. I know their potential. I love the fact that, and they inspire me. So I know that, yo, Coombs, keep going, even though you haven't achieved the level of notoriety, as some of these people, but you're actually doing great because you're just right there with them. You just need to get better at doing your business and, just do better at what you need to improve on. And I think that's the important thing to take from, most of the lessons that you're learning in life. You go through, you realize that, yo, okay, I'm weak in this area and I'm strong in this area. I need to improve, what I'm doing. And, events is a part of my thing. I'll never stop doing events, so yeah, it's just a structure that needs to come around it. And a lot of artists pass through WikiWaki, and a lot has passed through my culture walk since this February. From
Nice.
Notice to Zugudan, who is coming up. You understand? Lots of artists
Yeah,
pass
Zugu
through.
Dan. I just got
Dario.
a tune from him a couple months ago actually. Whew,
Yeah,
he,
produced by
he's
Philip. Yeah, produced
yeah,
by Philip from Earthcry.
fire
So
man. He's
yeah,
he's
man. So I
real
mean,
good.
it's one link, man. So I mean, so we were trying to create this thing where if if Kumar is not keeping the shows and everybody's recording songs, so which stage are they gonna perform on? So so I'm trying my best to be a outlet as well. So there's shows happening all over Jamaica, but there, so we need to get involved. I have to be an option as well when an artist need a look a stage show if I go up on or something. Comes have some things that have a good audience. Yeah, let's get on that show. And
Yeah,
that's how it builds. And if they do the same thing and invite me, then it's great. So
yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, I got well, actually, I'm gonna step into sort of a bigger question, and then we'll finish up after this. Ask you to talk a little bit about what's been going on here in the states and worldwide. We've obviously, I'm sure you know that we witnessed the murder of yet another unarmed black man here, George Floyd, about a month ago or so. Whether or not you saw the video, and you don't have to like re-traumatize everybody going through it again, but it's this time it's sparked this uprising in the world. I mean, there have been demonstrations everywhere around this country, all over the world, in Jamaica as well. What anything that you'd like to say about all this and this continued oppression that we're hoping
yeah,
we hope we're going to end this time. I don't know how
like
it's.
like truth and honesty. I mean, the system, has gotten out of control. The world needs a shake up. And I think, the most I realize that, black people in America and of the world have been oppressed. And it's not every black people all the while face the oppression, even though it exists. Some of us who, might not be under the police brutality every day, might not understand fully, what the people who are go through it feel. So that's why we have to really stand in solidarity, with anybody who's been oppressed. That is the key thing about this. Like when oppression reach your door, you're gonna ask for help. So I think everybody who's oppressed right now need the support. You know, everybody. You know. So I think we not kill a black man like that in a broad daylight, and nothing. Really, we have a black road and everything to get some justice. It says a lot about people and not just America or just, it is a lot about people, and what we mean to one another. So I think it's very sad, and sometimes when we think about it, we realize, say, we can point fingers and say the white man or this man and that man, but I think we're all one people, but the fact of the matter is there's a set of people that has been disenfranchised and separated from economic and whole heap of other, valuable, viable things in society, which needs to change, in order to strike some form of balance and equality amongst people. Or it's going to continue to be like this. It's going to continue to, have people crying out for justice. And, it's just a never-ending vicious cycle, unless something drastic happens,
Yeah. Do you think that this is the time for change? I mean, you think that there's enough momentum right now?
Well, in all fairness, there's momentum, but there's a lot of information and a lot of confusion happening as well.
Yep.
So it's easy to be infiltrated right now. It's easy for people to behave as if, okay, let's give them what they want so they shut up. And let's get back to business in the back end. It's like you get paid for a show, but nobody tells you you have mechanical royalties.
Yeah.
You get money up front, but there's money in the back that you didn't know about.
Right.
So I'm saying it's the same thing with all these riots and movements. There's so much happening in the background of all these political organizations and even the Black Lives Matter movement. I stand with and support, but the organization itself, like when you think about who's spending money and funding and the politics involved, it makes you think about like, okay, so will we really get justice, or is this just another coy to really, get people to move forward? Because once a slave, always a slave, and at the end of the day, now you're a slave that's being leased. Like we can, Babylon system really give you a job. They're leasing you, so they're giving you enough money to come to work. So it really kind of have economics bigger than morality.
Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely hear you. Wow. Well, on that note, tell me, or tell the people how they can get in touch with you, where they can find the record, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, well, Kumar, KUMARFYAH, Kumar Fyah on Instagram. And, I have a YouTube channel. So if you want to go on YouTube, check Kumar Fyah or Kumar, you'll see, my songs and my videos. The album is available on all the digital.
And,
there's www.kumarmusic.com,
Yeah, perfect. And I know it could be a while, but are you trying to put together some sort of tour for once the world goes back to normal, or?
Yeah, definitely, because I have a fresh album. They're calling, they want to tour, but it's not possible at the moment. So I think once things free up, I definitely want to be touring the US again. I have not toured the US in 2 or 3 years, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's a good look. There's fans there still hoping that I come back with something special.
Well, I know that I'm definitely one of them. I hope you come back as soon as the world allows it. Well, thank you so much, Kumar. Thanks for taking the time with us. The album is great. People, make sure you go get it, and we'll talk to you very, very soon.
Give thanks, family. Blessings.
Yeah, man. Bless up.
Honorable.